Cyborg was not surprised to see Amanda Nunes lose her bantamweight title to Juliana Pena at UFC 269. Nunes put her 135-pound title on the line against Pena in the co-headliner of last Saturday's pay-per-view event in Las Vegas. Despite being a massive underdog, Pena was able to earn a second-round submission victory. To most fans and pundits, the outcome was nothing short of shocking, as Nunes had not tasted defeat since September of 2014. However, for former UFC champion and reigning Bellator queen Cris Cyborg, Juliana Pena's submission win over Amanda Nunes did not come as a surprise. She said the following: "You know, I was not surprised. I picked Pena because out of the 5 losses for Amanda Nunes, 4 were the same style as Pena. And before, we knew Amanda Nunes' danger is in the beginning, in the first round. If you pass the first round with her, you can get in the fight. We knew this. Of course, when you fight her, you go fire to fire, and that happens. You know what happened. We knew that when she goes past the first round, she sees she cannot finish you, so she's either gonna run away or quit on the floor or something, and this is what happened for Juliana Pena. I don't feel like Juliana did any sort of submission because she didn't have a submission the way she finished the fight. I feel like Amanda Nunes, at one point, she sees she cannot finish, and Juliana Pena continued going forward and she tapped, but Pena didn't have any submission." During a recent video on his YouTube channel, Chael Sonnen reacted to Jon Jones accepting a plea deal for his domestic battery case. He had the following to say: "So Jon's legal issue in Nevada is now behind him, which I'm glad about. In all fairness, that thing started to look a little bit weird. Jon Jones started getting accused of things that he was never accused of, and he was being accused by people who weren't present. It just got a little bit weird, and it started to get a little bit unfair. I personally don't think that he headbutted a cop car. With officers all wearing body cam, the fact that no footage has slipped into the hands of TMZ, I think what happened is they cuffed him, threw him over the hood, bounced his head off of it, and they wanted to avoid a lawsuit. That's what I think, but I can't prove it. So anyway, it's over with. He made a plea deal. He's going to go paint some park benches or whatever. He's got to pay restitution. Restitution to a victim on a domestic violence charge that got dismissed. Do you see the problem? So that charge never is a charge. That charge was never filed in the first place. That charge was only aired out from the media. And now he has to pay restitution to a victim, but there isn't one because the charge doesn't exist. I mean, come on. You can only get this in Las Vegas, guys. If anybody has a magic wand waved over him when it comes to going to court, it's Jon Jones. And whoever he's got that's calling favors in for him, they're calling in some damn big ones." Kevin Lee doesn't see himself ever fighting for the UFC again unless one major thing happens. Lee was shockingly released from the UFC late last month and inked a multi-fight deal with Khabib's Eagle FC promotion. He will be competing at 165 pounds and will make his debut on March 11th and will be paid in Bitcoin. Although his focus is on Eagle FC right now, many believe he should still be in the UFC, yet Lee doesn't see himself ever stepping back into the octagon unless he gets to rematch Charles Oliveira. He said the following: "Only reason I would go back is to fight Charles Oliveira if he has the title and they offer me a direct title fight. Other than that, maybe we can co-promote or something." Lee and Oliveira fought back at UFC Brasilia in March of 2020 in the first event with no fans just before the sports world shut down. Ultimately, it was Oliveira winning the fight by submission, but even since then, people have overlooked him. Many fans thought Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier both had paths to beating him. However, he beat them both to win the vacant belt and defend it. For Kevin Lee, he knows Charles Oliveira is overlooked, but for him, he says he is the best fighter he has ever fought. It was a good win. He's solid, he's got skills everywhere, and is a tough puzzle to figure out. He's the best lightweight in the world. After a performance like that, you have to tip your hat. You have to give it to him. I didn't learn that until the second round of our fight. He's got real skills and keeps coming too. If people are still sleeping on him, then that's their fault. That's just me giving his due, because he deserves it at this point. Former UFC title challenger Claudia Gadelha has retired from MMA, citing post-concussion syndrome as a key factor in her decision. Gadelha has not competed since November of 2020, where she suffered a unanimous decision loss to Sonnen Nayan. According to the Brazilian standout, she suffered a nasty concussion during that contest, which caused lingering symptoms for quite some time. In November of 2020, after the fight, I had a really bad concussion and I had post-concussion syndrome, which is the symptoms of a concussion for a long period of time. So I was suffering with the symptoms for a little while. It was very frustrating because my headaches were like a knife stabbing the back of my head. I was very nauseous. I was like throwing up and feeling very, very bad. I couldn't even go for a walk, much less train. It was very frustrating. So I took some time away from the sport, and I started studying nutrition. And I kind of fell in love with nutrition and with health and performance. And I started studying other things, because I needed my energy for something else in my life. I am a very energetic person, so I needed to do something else. I found out that without health, we are nothing. I had to rush to the hospital in the beginning of my concussion twice. I ended up in the emergency room twice. So I am here in Las Vegas by myself, and my family is in Brazil, and this is during COVID, so I couldn't fly to Brazil to go be with my family. Because it was like the beginning of the concussion, so I couldn't fly, and my parents couldn't come here because of COVID. So I had to spend a lot of time by myself, and that was very frustrating. With that being said, I started thinking about not fighting anymore. Claudia Gadelha challenged for the UFC Women's Strawweight title back in 2016, but ultimately fell short in her bid to dethrone then-champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk.